It was a quiet morning in the village of Umuikem, the kind of peaceful calm that came after a night of pounding rain. Birds chirped, goats bleated lazily, then suddenly dust rose in the air. A black SUV with tinted windows rolled slowly through the village square. Children ran after it, shouting, "Who is that?" Women carrying firewood paused. The car came to a halt in front of the Okoro family compound. Out stepped a woman in high heels, golden wig, and a red designer dress. That was Adara. She had left the village 10 years ago with nothing but a Ghana must go bag and dreams. Now she was back, rich, glamorous, unrecognizable. But as she waved at the villagers, the air felt strange. No one clapped, no one danced. People just stared. Some whispered, others frowned. Adara smiled, unaware of the storm she had just walked into. Inside her father's compound, things were no different. Her younger brother, Obina, opened the gate reluctantly. Her mother looked shocked, not joyful, just stunned. Her father sat under the mango tree, rubbing his cane slowly between his palms. Adara ran to them, arms wide. "Mama, Papa, I'm back." But their faces didn't soften. "So you remembered us?" her father finally said. So Adora was confused. "Of course, Papa. I came back for you. Look!" She pointed to the car. "I brought money. I can fix the roof, dig a borehole, even renovate the health center." Her mother looked at her, eyes wet, not from joy, but something else. "My daughter," she said softly, "there's a kind of money that carries its own curse." Adora blinked. "What do you mean, Mama?" Her mother shook her head. "You will soon understand." The silence grew heavy. The villagers kept watching from a distance. That night, the compound was quiet. Adara sat in her childhood room, now filled with dust and cobwebs. She scrolled through her phone, expecting old friends to message her after seeing the car, but none did. She tried calling Tiamaka, her childhood best friend. No answer. She walked to the backyard, where she used to fetch water. There, she saw two young girls whispering as they passed. One muttered, "That's the one who went to do runs in Lagos." The words stung. Adara clenched her fists. Was that what they thought? She had struggled in Lagos, worked in restaurants, cleaned houses, and yes, made choices she wasn't proud of. But it was survival. She didn't steal. She didn't kill. Why was everyone treating her like dirt? The wind blew gently, stirring the dry leaves. It felt like the village itself was rejecting her, even though she had brought gold in her hands. By morning, the news had spread like wildfire. Adaora had returned, a city girl, rich and glowing, but surrounded by rumors. At the village stream, women gathered with their calabashes, not just to fetch water, but to gossip. They say she used men's heads for money in Lagos, one woman said, her eyes wide. No husband, no child, yet money full ground. How? Another added. The younger ones giggled but listened. These stories fed their imaginations. Back at home, Adara noticed the change. The village children no longer waved. Some parents called them away when she walked past. The tailor she wanted to pay to sew uniforms for the school politely declined. "Please, madam, I am not taking new orders." She could feel it. Suspicion was everywhere. She wasn't just an outsider. She was a threat. In a place where everyone knew each other's roots, she had become an unfamiliar tree with too many branches, and they feared her shape. Determined to make things right, Adaora dressed modestly and went to the local church on Sunday, the same church where she once sang in the children's choir. She hoped the villagers would see her heart, not her wealth. But as she walked in, heads turned slowly. Conversation stopped. The pastor, who once blessed her during her naming ceremony, cleared his throat when he saw her. "Let us welcome our sister," he said, without calling her name. She sat alone on a bench. Even during offering time, her generous donation brought no applause, only side glances and furrowed brows. After the service, she approached the pastor. "Papa, can I support the church renovation?" she asked. The man looked uncomfortable. Eh, Sister Adara, we appreciate your concern, but for now, we're managing. Adaora nodded, forcing a smile, but inside her heart cracked a little more. In the city, money opened doors. In the village, it seemed to close them. Later that evening, Adaora found Chiamaka near the village square selling vegetables. "Chi, it's me, Adaora," she said softly. Chiamaka barely looked up. "I know who you are." "Why are you acting like a stranger?" Adara asked. "We were like sisters." Chiamaka chuckled bitterly. "Until you left without a word. 10 years, no calls, no visits, and now you come back with tinted glass and bodyguards." Adora sighed. "Life was hard, Chi. I didn't even have transport to come home. I suffered." "So you say, but suffering doesn't change people. Money does. You didn't just leave us, Ada. You became someone else." Chiamaka's voice cracked. "We needed you when Mama died. You weren't there." Adara stood still, her eyes glistening. "I didn't know, Chi. I swear, but the damage was done." Chiamaka turned away. "You left this place behind. Don't be surprised it moved on without you." And just like that, Adara realized money could buy a house, but not a home. That week, the village held the annual Yam Festival, a time of joy, drumming, dancing, and unity. Adara remembered it well from childhood, how she and Chamaka used to wear matching wrappers and dance before the elders. She dressed in rich Ankara with coral beads and gold earrings, hoping to blend in. But as she arrived at the village square, the drums seemed to pause. The dancers slowed. Her presence caused a ripple. The elders barely acknowledged her. One of the women whispered loudly, "Now she wants to belong after chasing city glory." Adara sat quietly on the side. Her eyes scanned the crowd, looking for a single warm face. There was none. The festival continued, but for her, it felt like a silent movie, colorful but cold. That night, under the moonlight, she cried into her pillow. Her money could buy music, but not melody. She had become a stranger in her own festival. Back in Lagos, Adora had lived 1,000 lives. After years of struggle, being a nanny, then a bar hostess, she got lucky. She met a woman, Auntie Mabel, who took her in, mentored her, and taught her the luxury fashion business. Adora worked day and night, saved every naira, learned fast, and before long, she was traveling to Dubai, importing goods, opening boutiques. It wasn't overnight. It was sweat, tears, and tough lessons. But to her village, it looked like magic, or worse, witchcraft. They didn't see the nights she slept on cold tiles, or the times she skipped meals. All they saw was the finished product, rich, polished, and foreign. Adora thought about telling them her journey, but would they believe her? Or would they think it was just another performance? Sometimes she wondered if suffering in silence was better than explaining to deaf ears. 2 days later, Adara received a surprise visitor, the chief's wife, Madame Neka, dressed in royal blue with gale, high like a mountain. She entered with a soft smile. "I came to greet our daughter who has returned," she said. Adora stood, unsure. "Thank you, Ma." They sat. Madame Neka looked around the compound. "You've done well for yourself, my dear. But the village is small-minded sometimes." Adora's eyes lit up. "So you understand?" The woman nodded slowly. Yes, but you must understand too. When people don't know your story, they fill the gaps with fear. She paused. Do something they can see. Not with money, but with heart. Adora frowned. Like what? Maybe something for the widows. Something humble. Let them feel you before they see your wealth. Adara nodded slowly. For the first time since her return, someone wasn't judging. She was advising. And the words would soon plant a new seed in Adara's heart. Adara didn't wait long. The next morning, she sent her workers to the market. Yams, beans, gari, palm oil, soaps, bags upon bags. She didn't call the press. No camera, no drama, just silent hands arranging food into bundles. She invited only widows and the elderly, sending word quietly through the village youth. When they arrived, Adaora greeted each one personally. Mama, this is for you. I remember how you used to chase us from your mango tree. She joked gently. They laughed, surprised. The oldest woman, Mama Nkechi, touched her hand. You haven't changed, my daughter. Your eyes are still soft. Adara smiled. Life just added lashes. The laughter grew. As each one left with their bundle, the atmosphere began to shift. The same people who whispered suspicion now whispered something else. Admiration. Adaora stood by the gate, watching them leave. For once, her heart felt full, not from wealth, but from warmth. The following week, Adaora visited the village school. It hadn't changed much. Same cracked walls, same squeaky blackboard. The children sat on benches too small for their growing bodies. She asked the headmaster if she could speak to the pupils. With his nod, she stood before them, wearing a simple wrapper and headscarf. Do you know who I am? She asked. Some nodded, others stared. I once sat where you're sitting. I walked barefoot to this school, but I dreamed big. I didn't get here because of magic. I got here because I didn't give up. She told them about cleaning offices, saving money, failing in business, and trying again. The kids listened with wide eyes. Your dreams are valid. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. When she finished, the classroom erupted in applause. That day, Adaora became more than a rich returnee. She became a lesson, alive and inspiring. Chiamaka heard about the food donation. Then the school talk. She also heard her mother speak fondly of the Adaora who has not forgotten home. One afternoon, she walked to Adaora's compound. She saw her under the mango tree, plaiting a child's hair. You're still good with your hands, Chimaka said quietly. Adaora looked up, surprised but happy. Old habits. Chimaka sat down. I was harsh. I judged you from outside the door. Adora smiled softly. I didn't knock loud enough. Silence stretched between them, but it wasn't awkward. It was healing. You've changed, Ada, Chiamaka whispered. Or maybe you just came back home properly this time. They both chuckled. Two childhood friends, separated by time and misunderstanding, now finding their rhythm again. The village hadn't fully accepted Adaora, but one heart had turned, and that was the start. A month later, the village called for its general meeting. Men on one side, women on the other. Adara attended quietly, wrapped in a simple ankara with no jewelry. As discussions went on about bad roads, school chairs, and water scarcity, someone stood and said, Let Adara speak. She has seen the world. Murmurs followed. The village head nodded slowly. Go ahead, daughter. Adara rose. I won't pretend to know all the answers, but I've seen what can happen when people work together. I can support, but only if we all do it as a community. It was the first time the villagers heard her speak without pride or distance, just humility. Someone clapped, then another. And soon, A round of applause broke out. That day, Adaora wasn't just a returnee. She became part of the village again, not through money, but with sincerity. It started with one child, then two, then a group. They gathered around Adaora's compound each evening, hoping to hear stories about the city. Adara would sit under the guava tree with his stool and smile. In the city, cars don't sleep, she began one evening, and houses grow taller than Iroko trees. Their eyes lit up with wonder. She talked about Lagos traffic, escalators, big supermarkets, and elevators. The children laughed, asked questions, and listened with fascination. Their laughter filled the compound. Even the adults walking by began to stop and listen. It reminded everyone of the Adara they used to know, the lively girl with 1,000 tales. Little by little, her home became a gathering point for joy, not because of her riches, but because she gave something money couldn't buy: attention and love. One evening, an old man named Baba Ozioma visited Adaora. He was the village's oldest surviving elder, bent with age, leaning on a walking stick carved from palm wood. "My daughter," he said as he sat, "I watched you grow from a stubborn little girl to a shining light." Adara knelt respectfully. "I was not perfect, Baba." The old man smiled. "None of us are. But you returned. Many leave and forget their roots. You came back with open hands. That matters." He reached into his wrapper and pulled out a kola nut. "I bless you. May your heart remain warm even if your hands are full. May the land remember your kindness." Adara bowed, tears silently falling. It wasn't a bank alert or a city award. It was something deeper: acceptance from the soil that raised her. Just when Adara thought peace had come, a new rumor began to spread. It came in whispers, soft, sneaky, poisonous. They say she made her money through runs in Lagos. Some say she was a politician's mistress. She never married, yet she's this rich. Think about it. Adara heard it at the market. She saw it in the way people stared at her as she passed. The smiles grew thinner. The greetings became colder. It stung more this time. After all her efforts, after giving, after teaching, after humbling herself. "So nothing I do is ever enough?" she asked Jamaka one evening. Jamaka sighed. "People are like shadows. Some follow you to see your light. Others follow to hide behind your fall." Adara nodded slowly. She had grown strong, but this hurt in a quiet place in her chest. Adara didn't run from the gossip. She walked right into it. During another village gathering, she stood up again. "I've heard things, ugly things," she said firmly. "Yes, I went to Lagos. Yes, I struggled. Yes, I made mistakes. But my hands are clean, and my heart is open. I won't spend my life trying to prove myself. If you want to believe lies, do. But I will not beg for love in my own land." Her voice shook, but her eyes were steady. The room went silent. No applause this time. Just a thick, heavy silence. Then Mama Nkechi stood up slowly. "We have become a people who eat their own fruit and curse the tree. Shame on us." A few nodded. Some looked away, but Adara's words hung in the air like thunder that refused to rain. That night, something shifted, not in the whole village, but in key hearts. Two women knocked on Adara's gate. "We came to apologize," one said. "We gossiped. We're sorry. We didn't know you were still one of us." Adara welcomed them in, not with judgment, but with small plates of food. Others followed over the week, one by one: apologies, confessions, conversations. Adaora didn't rejoice outwardly, but deep inside a light returned. She had faced the storm, not with fists, but with truth, and in doing so, she proved something vital. Riches may bring envy, but character builds respect. Not all had accepted her yet, but the tide was slowly changing, and this time it was real. One morning, Adaora stood in the middle of her late father's farm. The land had been left fallow for years, overgrown with weeds and silence. But Adaora saw something else, a chance. She called for a village youth meeting. They came hesitantly at first. "I want to start something new," she said. "A farming co-op. Everyone works, everyone earns. I'll bring tools and seedlings. You bring energy." Murmurs rippled through the group. A boy named Ebuka raised his hand. "Will we be paid fairly?" Adara smiled. "You'll be partners, not workers." That day, something rare happened. Hope was planted alongside seeds. It wasn't just about food, it was about dignity, about having something to call theirs. The next few weeks turned quiet land into loud labor. Youths who once hung around aimlessly now swung cutlasses, tilled soil, and watered crops. Adara walked beside them, sweating under the sun, her hands dirty like everyone else's. She didn't just fund the project, she became part of it. Songs returned to the fields, laughter echoed. Even elders stopped by to watch, nodding in silent approval. "This land has not felt life in years," one old man whispered. "She has awakened it." For the first time since her return, the village felt like it was breathing together. And Adaora was the rhythm behind that breath. The crops grew fast: maize, okra, pepper, cassava. When harvest came, there was dancing. Adaora organized a small festival to mark the day. She didn't sit on a throne. She danced barefoot with the children, laughed with the women, and served food with her own hands. During the celebration, the village chief walked up to the center. He raised his staff. "From the soil we ignored, Adaora has fed us. From the hands we doubted, she has lifted us. Let it be known today, she is not just a daughter of this land, she is its blessing." The crowd erupted in cheers. No more whispers, no more doubt. Adara stood there, heart pounding, not from pride, but from peace. She didn't buy respect, she earned it, and it was the sweetest harvest of all. One evening, Adaora sat on her veranda, the breeze dancing through her hair. She picked up a pen and wrote in her journal, "Dear younger me, you were never too loud, too ambitious, or too different. You only left because you were searching. Now you've returned, not to show off, but to grow. Not everyone understood you, but those who mattered stayed. You did well, girl. You did well." She paused, then smiled, wiping a small tear. This wasn't about Lagos anymore. This was about becoming whole, about finding herself in the same soil that once rejected her. Her scars became her strength. Her story became her voice. With some of her savings and help from the village youth, Adara built a new classroom block for the local school. Bright colors, strong desks, a fresh blackboard. On the first day of class, children ran in with excitement. Adora stood at the back, unseen but smiling. The headmaster gave her a nod of respect. Later, a little girl approached her. "Auntie Adara, will you teach us city English?" she asked shyly. Adara laughed gently. "Only if you teach me village Igbo first." The girl beamed. In that moment, it wasn't about money or buildings or praise. It was about impact, about legacy. Yeah, years later, Adara's story was told around fires. Parents pointed at her compound and said, "That is what it means to return with purpose." Children grew up knowing her not as the rich woman from Lagos, but as the one who made the village proud. Adaora, older now, would sit under her guava tree with gray streaks in her hair and wisdom in her eyes. When asked why she stayed, despite everything, she'd say, because rejection didn't break me. It shaped me. And in the shaping, I found my true home. The same village that once turned its back on her now held her like treasure. Adara had come full circle. And this time, she wasn't just accepted, she was loved.